Yeah. This is why I don't do these things. Okay, now I started recording.
Right.
Okay.
So just a quick recap. We're doing an overview of the SoStocked inventory management software. And this is like the most state-of-the-art software for Amazon sellers to combine a couple of different things or a few different things. Managing inventory. So how much inventory you have at FBA, how much you have at a storage facility like a third-party fulfillment center or a warehouse, how much inventory you potentially have at a supplier that hasn't been shipped yet. Any of you who've sold multiple products on Amazon for more than a few months, you know, one of the worst things that can happen is you run out of inventory. And when you run out of inventory, that can really hurt your business. It can hurt your rankings. It can take a while to re-rank a product. It can cost you a lot of money. Similarly, if you place orders with suppliers and your suppliers don't meet certain deadlines and you forget because you've got other things going on in your life or multiple products or multiple accounts, you can forget and then, oh crap, we have that shipment that was supposed to go out last week. Let me check with my supplier. The supplier goes, oh no, that hasn't gone out yet. So SoStocked is going to combine all of this in addition to forecasting to make your inventory management seamless, effortless, and really, really good. So Chelsea was kind of going over the forecasting a little bit. We want to pick up where you left off there with the spikes and everything.
Yeah, so we have transfers and we have orders. So if you've got inventory available, we'll always tell you to transfer before we tell you to place a new order.
Right, and then just to kind of recap on what you were saying on the spikes, like if you have...
Yeah, I was about to go over.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we have sales spikes, and sales spikes are essentially, let's do this. Essentially, a sales spike is anything 150% of your average sales for the period. So we look at 15 days before and 15 days after that day, and then we take the average, and if it's 150% over that average, then you're going to want to, we're going to call it a sales spike, and you're going to want to consider excluding that. So we always pull that data out, but if you want to put the data back in, then that's where you would come in here and you would turn that back on.
Right. So an example of a sales spike would be like if you had a lightning deal or you did a big launch. Let's say you launched a product in January and you gave away 200 or 300 units to get it going, gave away or deep discounted, whatever you want to call it, right? You did a big promotion, you moved a few hundred units in a short amount of time. And then when you go reorder the next shipment, let's say 2-3 months later, you're not going to necessarily order the same amount because you're not going to do another big giveaway. So that would be a sales spike. You'd want to factor out that big spike. Or if you did a big lightning deal that you don't plan on doing again.
Right.
And Chelsea.
Yeah, so sales spikes are a little bit different than deep discounts, which we get into next. But yeah, it's anything that is, you know, lightning deals, anything that is not a deep discount necessarily. You know, we have deep discounts as well that we can pull out. So, but yeah, it's, you know, say you have a big sales day on Christmas, say you have a big, you know, some influencer mentions you and you get a bunch of sales in a day or something like that. Things that aren't going to be reoccurring on, you know, a monthly or an annual basis are things you want to factor out.
Yeah, and then on that note, what if someone ran out of inventory? So it was the opposite, right?
Yeah, like, so I'm gonna get to that.
Okay.
So we're just gonna go through these. So we have a deep discounts. So deep discounts, we consider anything 30% or more. So if you sell it for $100 and you gave $30 off, then we would consider that to be a deep discount. And you can choose, again, to include or exclude that. So we remove all of that. So this shows 12 days of sales removed. We should see how many sales were at that deep discount and what was that discount. So if I only wanted 70% or more as a deep discount, I could put this 35% back in there and this 67% back in there. But that's one of those ways to, again, if you've got a bunch of promotions that you're doing and you're not going to do that all the time, you don't want to factor that data in. It really starts to hone in on what your actual sales are so that you can get the forecast right. And then like Ari was alluding to, we've got stockouts. So stockouts are days that we pull out as well. And what we look at is, again, we look at 30% or less of your average daily sales, because 0 doesn't always indicate stockout. 0 is part of the stockout, but then what about the day when you started running out of stock? You know, what if you're used to doing 100 sales and you did 20 that day, and it was the day before you stocked out, or
Right.
you went back in stock?
Yeah, if you have inventory at multiple FBA fulfillment centers, and in your Seller Central it says that you're out of inventory, but there's still a few units floating around.
Yeah, like
So
here, this is definitely a stock out. Like you can actually see the 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th. So this is a whole week of stocking out. We stocked out, I believe this product stocked out at like this in May. So 25, you know, was the ramping down, and then those days that, you know, if we just called it 0, then these days would have been factored into the forecast.
Right.
So since
the
these
inventory
days,
order would be too small in that
yeah.
case.
So this is, like he said, Amazon's finding inventory. You ran out of inventory, but Amazon's finding, you know, a unit here and a unit there, and you're selling just randomly little bits. Same with this one. This is in about 4 days in June. You've got 20 and then 0, 0, and 15. So this is out of stock, you know, running out of stock, out of stock, out of stock, and then back in stock. But what about Christmas? This is Christmas Day. Normally sales are very low on Christmas Day. So I would actually say, I'm going to put this one back in. And maybe I'll put this one back in. But it'll also start to catch if your listing gets shut down for a part of a day. Maybe this one isn't a stock out, you know, but your listing got shut down. It'll catch that as well. So maybe the listing got shut down for a portion of the day on the 7th. So you can choose which ones to include and which ones to exclude, and that'll definitely start changing your forecasting, especially if it just happened. If you just had you know, if you just had this happen and then you're looking at a forecast, you know, you want to factor those days out so you get a true average of sales. Okay, so those are those top 3. And again, if you have questions, Ari, are you able to look at any of the questions in the chats?
Yeah,
monitor that.
Yeah, so far there's no questions. You guys can just post in the chat, or you can raise your hand. You could also just, there's only about 15 people on the call so far, so you could just unmute yourself if you need to and shout. But we, you know, go ahead and post your questions in the chat box, and
Great.
I'll manage that.
Right. So so we've got the first thing is this look period. So we've got seasonality, and I want to show you the graph. So we've got a graph here, and you can turn on how much warehouse you have. So this is your warehouse level, and it'll tell you if this is true or if it's, you know, you've got your projected sales, your warehouse level, and then you've got your FBA inventory, and you can turn all those on or off. And then you've got your sales. So this is the sales pattern, and then you've got projected sales. And now this is where the look period gets very important. So if we look at the last 60 days, you can see that there's a downtrend in sales on this product within this period. So you see that downtrend in sales, and then you see that there's these peaks and valleys. This pattern is mimicked in this pattern over here. Now that's seasonality. So there's 2 different pieces to this. There's seasonality and there's your look period. So I'm going to show you how both of those work and why they're important. Seasonality is this peaks and valleys. The look period gives you trend. So, you know, if this is downtrending, it gives you trend, and also gives you volume. So you see this is a lower volume. With this product specifically, the sales have gone down, in the last 60 days. So if we look at the last 12 months, we're going to see a very, very different story. So it had us ordering 2,100 units.
Right.
Now it's having us order 3,300 units. And you look at that, you can see that in changing the look period, the projection, the volume, and the trend definitely changed. The seasonality, the peaks and valleys are still mimicking last year's peaks and valleys, but there's a drastic change depending on on what your look period is. And that's one of the things that we found really important to add into the software, because if you have, dramatic changes in your product, and you have some products that are very steady, why are you going to use the same formula to calculate both products when you can see the major difference? That's over 1,000 units difference in what you're being told to order. So being able to manipulate the data in that way is important. Yeah. And then if you turn seasonality off, seasonality is set to default, and we would recommend seasonality. But if you don't think you're going to have the same peaks and valleys, and you just want to kind of flatten it out and get a flatter average, you can turn it off and you'll see what it looks like on the graph. So you can see very much flattens that out. And now, and you're, instead of being told to order 33, you're being told to order 29. So it's factoring out those peaks and valleys to give you.
Want to be more conservative with the orders.
Yeah.
We have a basic question, actually a really good question from Leah, which is, what's the difference between Amazon inventory management and SoStocked? So okay. I'll answer that. Yeah. So basically, Leah, great question. For a relatively new Amazon seller who's primarily selling FBA, fulfilled by Amazon, you're depending on Amazon's Seller Central to, all of your inventory, I imagine, is at Amazon. So you place an order for 500 or 1,000 units. It goes all to Amazon FBA. All your inventory is there, and you just kind of watch the sales, and they're pretty slow because you're new and you're just watching it. That's fine. As you grow, that's going to get a little bit more complicated. And once you launch multiple products and you have seasonal products, and you're not going to necessarily want to store everything at Amazon fulfillment centers, because FBA fulfillment fees and storage fees are only going in one direction, and that is up, meaning every year they tend to raise their prices. At least that's what we've noticed. So a few years ago, we started keeping large portions of our inventory at a freight forwarder's warehouse, and then we would send it in bit by bit to Amazon FBA as we were getting close to selling out. Because storage was cheaper at a third-party warehouse than it was at Amazon. Now, Amazon doesn't know where your inventory is if it's not at FBA. So let's say you order 5,000 units and you send 2,000 to FBA, and the other 3,000 are at some warehouse in Los Angeles. Amazon doesn't know about that 3,000 units. So they're not going to tell you, hey, by the way, go send your inventory in now. Amazon does give you little reminders based on your average sales, and it says, hey, it's time to restock. But the reason why our forecasting is better and unique is because Amazon's forecasting is 100% algorithm based, and it does not factor out the peaks and valleys that Chelsea was just showing you.
Right, the stock outs, the deep discounts, the sales.
All of that stuff, right? Amazon Seller Central doesn't care or understand your business. They just look strictly at the numbers of the sales within Amazon and say, hey, you need to order more. Yeah. And usually, from our experience, their recommendations on when to order and how much to order are pretty wrong.
Well, they don't know your lead times. First of all, they don't know that if it takes 90 days, if it takes 60 days, if it takes 30 days for your inventory to arrive. So when they're telling you to restock, how late are they on the chain?
Maybe. Well, that's a good point that you actually haven't mentioned yet. Yeah. And
we don't know what their algorithm is. Like I just said, you saw the big difference between whether we did the last 12 months as our look period, or the last 6 months, the last 60 days. And if they don't have that factored in, or you don't know what that is, what is the basis of the number they're giving you?
Right. So yeah, so very real examples of that would be, let's say there was a couple of new big sellers that came into your market and your sales have gone down 20 or 30 or 50% in the last year. Or the opposite. You ranked up really, really well. You did a good job and you're doing twice as many sales this year as you were last year.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon's suggested reorder amounts, like Chelsea said, they don't take into account how long it takes to get the inventory produced and to get it over here.
Yeah.
And they don't take into account, you know, how fast you're growing or.
Yeah, we have some people who do what's called wholesale, and so they compete with other sellers, and sometimes they'll get an exclusive account and all the other sellers will be kicked off, and all of a sudden they had, you know, they have 4 times as many sales as they used to have. So if they are being told to, you know, order based on what they did last year or even in the last 6 months, then it doesn't take into account that, you know, they're selling 4 times as much.
Cool.
Yeah. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah. Does that answer your question? Can you type yes or no in the chat box? Or if you need more explanation. Okay, good. She said yes. Thank you.
Okay, good. So we discussed the look period, the seasonality and the look period.
Do we want to quickly go over like just the layout of the software itself? Like on the the left-hand side of the screen, you've got orders, forecast, inventory, vendors, settings. Just a very,
you know, yeah, it's not really, they haven't bought the software yet. So I wanted to show them the features and then we can, you know,
sure.
I thought that would be the good way to go. So we have an order frequency. So this, you can set it to order as needed, or if you order, say you order every 3 months, if we don't have this factored in, then you're going to be told to order the wrong amount. You're going to say, maybe, you know, if you're not setting an order frequency, maybe the software tells you to order for 1 month, but you order every 3 months because you're saving on shipping or something like that. So you can set your order frequency and the software will adjust based on that. So, you know, we see.
Yeah, that's really important that you bring that up because so many sellers source.
We have a higher amount now.
You know, let's say you source from China, but you also have another product that you source from the US. Well, your order frequency is going to vary greatly. If you're ordering from the US, the lead time is a lot shorter, so you can order smaller, more frequent orders than if you're ordering from China, where it takes 2 or 3 months to produce the product and get it over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So each of those products is going to have a completely different forecast and a completely different order frequency.
Right. Right. So, so we have order frequency, and then you have your lead time, and your lead time can be built out. You can change your lead time per product. The default is to set it per supplier, and then you can come into the forecast and change it per product. So you can actually build out, we call it the lead time workflow. And lead time is essentially just from the point you place your order to the point it actually arrives, either at your warehouse or at Amazon. How many days is it, and what is in what stage of the process is it? So we have, you know, you can say, when I send my order, you know, if I send my order, it takes 2 days for them actually to get started, and then you could put, you know, 2 days. So we would go, you know, in production is 25 days, but order sent is 2 days. And a general rule is that you always estimate the worst case scenario is the best case scenario in terms of logistics. So if your worst case scenario is it takes 90 days, you know, I mean, within reason. If it usually takes 60 days and, you know, one time in the past 5 years it took 90 days, then, you know, you wouldn't want to set it for that. But if it, you know, could take 60 days or it could take 70 days, go with 70 days. So you can set your air, whether it's shipping by air, ocean, if it's going to a prep center. If it's going to a prep center, you actually get to pick the prep center. And this all builds into your workflow. And then if you're going to a third-party warehouse, you also have a customs hold if you're used to a customs hold, and then going to your third-party warehouse. And so based on your lead time, this will change the the date at which you're being told to order your inventory. So if it's, you know, if you're going to run out of stock, then you could switch this to air, you know, ship by air. And then you have MOQ. So this is important because if you don't have this set, if you're being told to order, so if we're being told to order 1,100 here, well, what if our MOQ was 1,500?
Minimum order quantity.
Minimum order quantity, the minimum amount that your supplier will allow you to order. So now it's changed to 1,500 even, right? And then you have, we call these buffer stocks. So this is stock that we always want to have this amount at Amazon. So our FBA buffer stock, I want to consider that 0 is actually 50. So if 0 is 50, then I'm going to be told to transfer or to order so that I can always keep 50 units in stock. So a lot of people have a problem with, even when they're using a forecasting software, they have a problem with when actually cutting it too close and running out. So this is something that builds in a buffer to allow you not to run out. So say you want 50 units at FBA and you want 100 units at the warehouse. You can even increase that, and you'll see how the amount that we're being told to order is going to change. So now we're being told to order more inventory. And then if we change this to 1,000 units. So, and then once you set it, the first time you set and you get into the habit of having a buffer stock, your order will be definitely larger than what it normally is, but then it'll keep that buffer stock in. It'll, you know, you'll do it the first time, and then you will just keep that amount of inventory in at all times, and then your orders will kind of even out. So that's buffer stock. And then we have average transfer time. So average transfer time is how many days does it take from telling your warehouse to ship it from the warehouse into Amazon to Amazon actually checking it in. And that seems to be getting longer and longer. We have it defaulted all over the website to 10 days, but it can be changed per product. Some of the guys we were onboarding said that they had a specific product that was they were always told to ship it across the country. Normally they ship, you know, just to one area that was close by, but they had to ship this one item across the country. So their lead time would be a lot longer for that specific one. And that affects the transfer time. When am I going to be told to transfer? Well, you're going to be told to transfer with enough time so that you have 14 days for it to arrive before you run out of inventory. And not even run out of inventory, but before you get to your buffer stock minimum.
Right. What do the green lines mean?
So the green lines show your FBA inventory. So I believe with this product, there is inventory on the way, but I haven't put, there isn't a PO out for it. So it shows you when are you going to run out of inventory.
Oh, cool.
You're going to run out of inventory there, and then you're going to be back in stock. If you place this order, which we're telling you to do, this is when you'll be back in stock. And then we've got the warehouse. This is our projection because you said you wanted 1,000. So some of this is projected warehouse inventory based on what we're telling you, what we're instructing you to do. So it'll show you both actual and projected.
Cool. Ed has a question. What is the definition of a transfer?
So yes, so a transfer is when you have inventory that is sitting in a separate warehouse, a non-Amazon warehouse, and you send it into FBA.
Right.
So it's not coming from a supplier. Orders come from suppliers. Transfers come from warehouses or prep centers.
Great.
So, and then the last little feature that is adjustable is something we call snooze. So you're going to be getting notifications in your email telling you when to send this inventory in. It's also going to be showing up on this dashboard that we see. But what if you've got a seasonal product that you only stock during Christmas? Well, you can actually turn off that snooze feature and say, don't remind me until September. September 15th is when I normally place this order, or mid-September. So I can actually turn off this item this product and not be reminded until this time to reorder.
Right.
And I can also snooze it forever. Say you're not going to carry that in anymore. You're going to liquidate it and you're going to sell it out and you're not going to stock it again. Well, then you can snooze it forever.
Nice.
Yeah, and then you have this little grid and you can look on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. And it'll tell you what's actually happening with your inventory. It'll give you what's actually happening, and then it'll give you projections. So let's see. So it'll show you potential stockouts here, right? And then it'll show you what to order and when it would arrive. So we have this, I think, as order is needed, right? So if we switched it to, I think it'd be easier to look at every month. Order on a monthly basis, because people don't tend to, I think, want to order less than monthly basis. So if you start seeing that they're telling you to order twice a month, you might want to switch it to order monthly. So we can see the order and then when it would arrive. So, and then you have your inventory hitting your warehouse, and then it tells you to transfer. So this amount, it'll tell you all of the things that it's going to instruct you to do into the future, right? And then by the end of the month, how much inventory do you have left? And so it's giving you instructions on a monthly basis of what's actually going to be occurring. And again, you can look at it by week and you can look at it by month. And the color coding, the significance of the color coding is just to match up these items. So it was getting annoying to me that I couldn't understand, like, well, what is this number compared to that number? And so we have color coded it so you can see this order is this order and that order is that order. And when you have POs, it's going to show up here as well, but it's actually going to be bold. And so you know the bold ones are things that are actually happening, and the non-bolded ones are things that are just suggestions. And when you hover over, you can see it says forecasted. If you actually had an order, it would say PO number, and it would give you the PO number. So, and that's something that you can export to Excel as well.
Nice.
So that's,
can you do something to my OCD? Can you expand your window so it covers to the bottom of the screen?
Wow.
I'm seeing this back. There we go. That's better.
Do you have, I have like, you can't see my panel of people, can you?
No.
Okay, yeah, because I have that. Okay, so so that's forecasting. And then the other feature that's really fun is called the order tracker. The order tracker is essentially an overview of what is actually happening in your business. So you can you have your PO drafts that you're creating. You've got reconcile shipment. So what happens is anytime Amazon receives inventory, we want to know where it came from. I have an accounting background, so double counting money is the worst thing. So it's the same thing with this. You don't want to double count your inventory. Some inventory management softwares have had that problem where their inventory is showing up in Amazon, but it's also not counted out of their warehouse. They moved it from their warehouse, but it still shows as in their warehouse. So instead of 600 units, the software thinks you have 1,200 units. And then all of your inventory forecasting is going to be wrong because it's based on more inventory than you actually have. So we do what's called reconciling. So we can say, is there an order you've already created? And if there were an order that had this inventory in it, you would get a drop down and it would say purchase order number, and you would select which one, and then it would automatically update, and it would remove it from the inventory that you're expecting to have arrived, so it's not double counting. If you don't, you can say, okay, it came from this warehouse or this prep center, or it came from this supplier, and you can select which one, and you update it, and this card disappears, and your inventory is reconciled. And then this is another way to look at the orders that we were just looking at on the forecasting page. And this is what's in production. It'll tell you which product, how many units. When you hover over, you can see the PO number. It'll tell you when it's expected to arrive at its final destination. And then when it's actually shipping, it'll show up en route. And instead of a little warehouse icon, you're going to get a plane or a truck or a boat, and that tells you how it's actually shipping. And then here's prep center. If it's at a prep center, it's going to show up here. And then it's going to show up here for a warehouse. And then there's a column that we hide, but if it gets stuck in a customs hold, you can actually move it into customs and hold it in customs. Some people have products that tend to have customs holds more often than others. And then FBA check-in, when it's starting to be checked into FBA, it'll show up there as well.
Yeah, let's quickly define what a prep center is.
So a prep center, yeah, so a prep center is any company that will do something to your product. So maybe you need it put into a bundle. You know, you combine 2 different products, or you combine three of the same product into a 3-pack. Anyone who does any of that for you. Specific packaging. What's that?
Labeling or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. So so the thing that you'll want to do is, if you've got a warehouse that also does prep for you, you select that it's a prep center and a warehouse. And so that's actually going to lead kind of into our next area, which is purchase orders. If there's no questions about this, we can move on to purchase orders.
Yeah, you're all expected to pass a test, a written test on this at the end of this webinar, so we want you to ask lots of questions.
Yeah, there's a lot of features, and so it's kind of a little bit meaty.
A little overwhelming, yeah, but you know, when you sign up, you're going to be personally onboarded, which means that we're going to walk you through how to import your inventory from Amazon, how to connect your Amazon account to SoStocked, how to create your vendors, how to set up all the lead times, all your prep centers or whatever you have. Mm-hmm. And obviously, if you have a very simple Amazon business, the onboarding is easy. So don't feel overwhelmed by this. You'll learn the software as you go. This is more of an overview to show you the features and benefits and how it can actually help you.
Yeah, different features work for different people. So something that doesn't really, isn't really desired by you might be desired by somebody else, which is why I kind of cover every aspect.
Yeah, that being said, there are no stupid questions. This is kind of an overwhelming overview. So if you have any questions at all, any concerns, what does this mean? How about this scenario? Please, that's the reason for this webinar. So we want questions.
And there's a question.
Yay. Oh, it's a comment. I love this feature. It's so much easier to track all the shipping and get updates. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and yeah, so we'll go through, but there's another feature that we're going to be building out within this month that's going to be really, really awesome for keeping track of things. But I want to go to purchase orders and work orders. I'm first going to define what the difference is between a purchase order and a work order. So a purchase order is any order that you're placing with your supplier for new inventory. So this only goes to suppliers. And then the work order is for your prep centers and your warehouses. It's to tell them inventory is arriving. It's to tell them to bundle an item, or it's to tell them to ship an item into Amazon or even to another location, such as another warehouse. So that's the difference between purchase orders and work orders. And I wanted to show you what it actually looks like and how it gets built out, because you can actually create a sequence. So we have a sequence here. We have 2 purchase orders and a work order. And we'll look at the purchase order. So this is the first purchase order. And this purchase order is for this product, cable protectors. And there's 300 that we want to ship. And this is the workflow. And whenever you put a prep center into the workflow, it's automatically going to create a work order for you. So many times people need to split a shipment. I don't know if this has happened to you, but you realize that, say something happens and you get a bunch of sales that you didn't expect. And you're like, oh wow, we're gonna run out of inventory. I need to send some of them by air and the rest by sea. So there's a split shipment feature, and you split the shipment, and then another shipping form shows up, and you can change the lead time. And so here's another way to change the lead time. So you say, okay, this one's going to ship in 17 days. Let's go back to so there's splitting shipments. And then this gives you, if you've got in your vendor section, you've got payment terms. And so the payment terms are, when are you supposed to actually pay this? And then you can actually log when you did pay it. So that's really handy, at least for me, because I would always forget when my payments were coming due, and it gets to be pretty important to keep track of that, especially when you're dealing with cash flow. And then you can sign right in the app. So you sign, and then you can go to the next step on the list, which is your second PO that you've built. And that's exactly the same thing. It's the same flow. And then you go to your work order. And the work order is going to, because you've got your prep center on both of these workflows, it's actually going to show the inventory that's arriving. So it says, you know, the following will arrive, and then what should be done with it. And there are 3 different things that you can do. You can tell them to combine items, so bundling or packaging. I know some people have where they put the product inside of the package at a different location, where they put labels on and they put inserts and all of that at a different location. You can build that out so that you can tell your prep center to do that, or you can create a bundle. And so we say we want 20 cable bundles, and the software already knows, because of how you've set your bundle up, that 20 cable bundles means 1 cable protector for each bundle and 1 cell charger for each bundle. So a total of 20 of each of those would build out the bundle. And then what do I do with this? Where do I ship it? And you give instructions for where to ship. And then in the end, whatever's left over in the inventory, it's going to tell them to stock it, because you've given them all these instructions. But what about the 180 cell chargers that are left? I haven't been told what to do with that. Well, it's going to automatically populate the quantity and tell you to just store the rest of it, to store the rest in inventory. And then, of course, you can sign it. You can put any notes to them. And then I have to move this over.
Is there a way to look at a completed PO?
Yeah. And then you go to preview, and it's going to generate the POs and the work orders for you. Takes a minute to generate it. It's building them out.
Also, your slow internet doesn't help.
Yeah, my internet is horrible. I got kicked off of one of my calls yesterday. So here's the purchase order, right? Says, you know, here's the product that we're ordering. You're going to ship this amount to this location, that amount to that location. And it'll give you your payments. You know, when is your payment? How much of your payment is 30% or 70%? Right now, this says 100% because that's what it's set as. But it'll split up your payments for you as well. Your signature. And so those are both your POs, and then your work order looks like this. Please expect 3 products to arrive, and it'll give the dates that they're expected to arrive. So you see these 2 are expected to arrive on the 20th, and this one on the 24th. And then please combine cable protectors and cell phone chargers into cable bundle per below. And then your shipping instructions, and then stock the rest of the cable chargers. So you have all of those documents. Well, what are you going to do with them? Well, you want to send them. So you can either download the PDF and send it yourself, or you can send the email directly from the software. So you tell Mary you send Mary at this company, and then you will send the second PO to Joan, and then the work order, you're actually going to schedule that, because their inventory is not going to arrive to them for, say, maybe 60 days. You know, if you've got a 60 or 90-day lead time, it doesn't really make sense to send them their work order 2 months before they're supposed to have it arrive. So you can actually schedule it. Say, I'm going to schedule it, you know, for end of August, you know, say 5 days before it's supposed to arrive, so they know and they'll be ready. And then you press confirm, and it'll send all of these to each of the people that you have emailed or have selected to email. So then you're done. You don't have to you don't have to download this. You don't have to do, any additional steps. It just makes it really fast to get, get your orders out. So you could go from forecast, click on the order button, it builds this out, you double check it, and you send the emails, it attaches the POs, and then you're done. The goal is really to cut down on the amount of time that you're spending on logistics. It's always going to take someone to be in charge. You actually need a person in charge of inventory management, but there are so many little tiny details that should and can be automated, and that's what we're building out. We've got it to this stage, and then the next level is one of the next things that we're going to be doing is building out an email follow-up sequence, so that you set this up, and then say 7 days before the product is supposed to ship, an email goes out automatically and says, hey, PO number 123A is estimated to ship in 1 week on this date. Is it on schedule? If not, tell me why. And and then send an email to your freight forwarder. We've just paid the final payment on this PO. Please set up the schedule, and schedule this item to ship. So you can start to build out your follow-up sequence, because that was one of the things that really got difficult for us. Even if we ordered on time, if we weren't following up, we have had inventory sitting in our supplier's warehouse, and because we didn't ask about it, they didn't contact us. Hey, I just noticed 2 weeks ago that I was supposed to have my inventory ready. Is it ready? Oh yeah, it's here. What? Like now we're running late. So that's one of the next stages that we're going to be building out, is an email follow-up sequence, so that you don't have to, because that's the final missing piece is, okay, you're ordering on time, you're ordering the right amount, but if you don't follow up and you're not constantly on these guys and nudging them all along the way, it's not going to get done. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, and we're building out, a system to make you the squeaky wheel and to actually get your inventory arriving on time. And then later on in the process, to add the feature to actually learn these things. This, if you've got someone who has been late, supplier has been late 3 times in a row, well, the software should tell you this supplier has been late, by 7 days, 3 times in a row. Either adjust your lead time so that you actually order sooner, or here are some resources to find a new supplier. Like those are the 2 solutions. So all of these things we're building out to create a very, very streamlined logistics process. So all of those boring, annoying details that don't take a lot of thought but take a lot of time are accounted for, and you're left to focus on the marketing side of your business.
That's right. So Leah asked a question, does this connect to Alibaba and Warehouse? Not exactly sure what that means. It does not connect to Alibaba, but you don't need to connect it to Alibaba, because you should have an email address for your supplier.
Right. Maybe to clarify, because I haven't been on Alibaba for a while, so maybe there's something that can be clarified. We are working on integrations. So we plan to get this connected to Shopify, connected to Walmart. So we will be working on integrations. And in terms of integrations, we will be, getting feedback on what are the things that people need, and we'll be rolling them out in terms of a priority order based on the majority of people needing that integration. So yeah, so this is the software. If there are any questions, feel free. Oh, there's a bulk feature, so you can, bulk import your data. You can bulk export your data, so that's really good. That's really, handy way to, especially if you have a lot of products. I know some people have, hundreds of products. Some people only have a few, and that's not as, as big of a deal. But we made sure to get a bulk import feature added into the software. All right. I don't know if there's any questions. Wanted to give the link for SoStocked, and again, so this product is not going to be offered forever at $37. It's, again, there can be some bugs that come up in this first iteration. And so that's kind of what we're doing, is we're looking to get these first guys in, really find out from you guys what are the features that you want, what's working, what's not. But $37 a month is for that beginning, we call it the early adopters, that beginning testing period, and those people. And you get that no matter how many products you have. So if you have hundreds of products, this is something that you definitely want to take advantage of, because you're going to have a higher price to get into the software than if you had, you know, only 5 products, 10 products, because the price will escalate. Or if you plan on getting tons of more products, you're going to be given full access to the software no matter how many products you have, no matter how much your business grows, no matter how many new cool features we offer, you'll get access to the software at that price forever, as long as you keep your account. So let me provide the link in case anyone doesn't have it. Where is the? I don't know if we answered Leah's question, so I wanted to make sure that we answered it.
Yeah.
Oh, in terms of the warehouse, it doesn't connect to your warehouse, but the majority of your warehouse tracking should be done through the reconcile feature. So, you know, we might in the future connect with some warehouses. We have spoken to Deliver. Deliver is one of the leading warehouses. They just closed a deal with Walmart. And so we will be integrating with them once we iron out, you know, any of the kinks. We have spoken to the CEO of Deliver. So, you know, if you
Deliver is one of the leading warehouses. What do you mean?
One of the leading warehouse and integration and fulfillment. Yeah, Deliver that's what it's called, with 2 R's at the end.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have spoken to them. So there will be integrations, and it's possible to be able to integrate if your warehouse does do some sort of online tracking. It is possible to maybe look into how we might integrate with them. But the majority of that stuff should be kept track of using the work orders and the FBA reconcile feature that we looked at, which was this one here. So then, you know, maybe on a monthly basis, you go in and you just make sure that the numbers are correct. So yeah, so the link to the SoStocked 37 for life is in the chat. You know, if you have any questions, you know, do let me know. This is a very powerful tool. It's also, you know, kind of like one of those, the way that artists are, you know, you always have things that you want to do, things that you want to change, things that you want to add. There are a lot of features, you know, that I have that we want to add into the software. We just have to prioritize, you know, which ones are the most valuable to you guys. And, you know, getting in and being one of these first 200, you will get direct communication with us. So you'll actually help to build out the software. It's actually a way to build out a tool the way that you need it to work. So you can contact us and say, hey, you know, I would like to have this feature. And we go, okay, cool, put it on the list, goes on the list, and then we prioritize it based on, you know, we start to do surveys based on which features are most important to the majority of people, and then we'll prioritize the rollout of features based on that. I think that's it if we don't have any other questions. Right, so this is for the first 200 people. So if you want to sign up, you should sign up soon, because we're going to start actually working with other influencers and talking to their audiences. So we wanted to give you guys kind of the first stab before we open it up to these other audiences. And, you know, there's no telling how quickly the 200 spots will fill up once we start talking to other broader audiences. So yeah, if you have any questions or think of any questions later on, you can email me directly at stock@sostocked.com. I personally check that on a daily basis. Yeah, that's it. Is there anything you want to say, Ari?
No, Leah had one final question. I think she was just clarifying her previous one. What I don't understand is only need their email and send email from SoStocked.
Yeah. So it's like an email. It's like it's kind of like, you know, Gmail. You just need their email, and then you can send things. Yeah, you send their email. So their email goes in the vendor section. So all of the vendors have.
Let's just show them real quick an example.
Yeah. Let's see. We'll do this one.
So it gets a little.
Yeah, so all of the vendors have an area to put emails in. So that whatever email you have for that vendor, it's going to pull up when you do your order. And so this is the email that would pull up if we were sending a work order to this company.
Right.
You can always change the email if you want, but the one that will automatically populate into the email field is the one that's connected to the vendor.
Cool.
Yeah. Yep. So that's it. I know there's a lot of details, but you know, it definitely becomes very valuable. Each little piece adds to, you know, the ability to kind of get your forecasting right, get your orders working properly, and to really streamline the process. All right, I think that's it. Is that it for you, Ari?
Yeah, just for those of you who are watching the recording, because obviously it's Sunday afternoon, earlier in the day for a lot of people, so you're out and about. So we're recording this. We're going to send this out to everybody on the mailing list. We will put the link to sign up in the body of the email. So obviously you can't, if you're watching the recording, you can't see the chat box. So you'll have the link in the email.
Right. Okay, great.
Let us know if you have any questions, and we will.
Is it going to work for other markets? Yeah. So we're doing the final tweaks on the EU. EU should be available by the end of this next week, and the other marketplaces, we're waiting on that to see how many people need other marketplaces like Australia and Japan, but the US version, the US accesses Canada, the US and Mexico, and the EU will access all the European territories.
Right.
Okay. Got some comments. Great tool. Thank you. Very good preview of the new software. Awesome. So yeah, so any questions, you know, let us know, and hopefully you take advantage of the 37 for Life deal, the early adopter deal. And yeah, we're just happy to be providing a tool that can help a lot of people. All right. See you later, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.